Welcome back, grade 9s, to a new week of online teaching. Today is the 20th of April 2020 and it is day 1. All right, we're going to start with equations with fractions. So now it's going to start becoming a little bit more difficult, but if you follow the steps right, you will not struggle at all. All right, let's just start with the easy one. I say, example 1, it says solve for x if x over 4 plus 2 is equal to 7. And this one is quite easy because we are just dealing with one fraction on the one side. So if you take that, the plus 2, that is the loose term, to that x over 4 and you throw it over to the other side, remember what happens, the plus 2 becomes a minus 2. So 7 minus 2 gives you 5. And remember, what is happening to x? What is happening to x? It's being divided by 4. What is the inverse of dividing by 4? Times by 4. So if you times by 4 on this side, you have to times by 4 on that side. So x divided by 4 times by 4 falls away and you're only left with the x. And here, 5 times 4 is 20. Okay, I think that is just maybe also a revision on what we did on Friday. So if you look now at example 2, you will see that you've got two terms with a fraction inside them. Or that is a fraction form. All right, doesn't matter if it contains an x or not, but you can see that both sides, or there's two terms that are a fraction. So step 1 is, I always say, make every term a fraction. So if you are dealing with fractions, they force you, they say, we're going to force you into fractions. So I hope you paid attention in grade 6 and 7 when you did fractions. So what they say, you must make every single little term there a fraction. So that one is already a fraction. The x, how do I make an x a fraction? By putting it over 1. And then that one is already also a fraction. Okay, step 2. Now they say make all the denominators the same. So if you look here, there's a 3, there's a 1, and there's a 3. So what is the LCD, the lowest common denominator for all three of those terms? Okay, hopefully you could see that that was a 3. So what you need to do is you want to change, that one is fine, he stays the same. That one is fine, he stays the same. But which one does not stay the same? That one that had a denominator of 1. That 1 had to become a 3. So how do we change that 1 to a 3? And you're only allowed to times and divide, hey? So you're going to times by, well, most of the time, or it is only going to be times. So how do you get the 1 to a 3? You times it by 3. So 1 times 3 will give you 3. But very important, people, lots of you will just go and rewrite that x and say, well, x over 1 is the same as x over 3. No. Okay, you have to, what you do at the bottom, you have to do on top. Okay, so you're changing that fraction. So to become 1 times 3 is 3, and x times 3 is 3x. So 3x divided by 3. Can you see that that is still true to my original question there? X is equal to 3x over 3. Can you see that? X is equal to 3x over 3. Why? Because if those two 3's cancel out, then you are still left with an x. So I just changed the shape of it. I changed into a different format so that we have a common denominator with both. Why do we want a common denominator? And that is where step 3 comes in. But please, people, this is only relevant to equations. You have to be working with equations where there's an equal sign. Okay, so once you have a common denominator, you've changed your fraction. You drop it like it's hot. I always say, oh, you've got them all the same. You drop it like it's hot, and then you are left with the numerators on top. Okay, so it's going to be 4x. So if you carry on here, 4x is equal to 3x minus 1. So we only write the top ones left. That is why we want to get common denominators, so that we can drop it like it's hot. And then you can get 4x. If you bring this 3x over, it becomes a minus 3x. So 4x minus 3 becomes x is equal to negative 1. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let's have a look at the last example. Sorry, all the notifications going off. Okay, so example 3. So yeah, it's a little bit more difficult, but not undoable, right? Yeah, we've got a fraction. So step 1, remember what I said, forces you into making every single term there a fraction. So how do I make it a fraction? The ones that aren't, I put them over 1. X over 1. Negative 2, that negative 2 over 1. Okay, then you have to ask yourself, there's a denominator of a 6, a 1, a 2, a 1, and a 1. So what is the LCD, the lowest common denominator? Okay, 6, then you say, can 1 go in 6? Yes, 2 can go into 6, 1 go into 6, 1 go. Okay, so the LCD is going to be 6. So you want to change every single fraction to make it over 6. Okay, so that x over 6, did something happen to that x over 6? No, it stayed the same. But this one, I changed that 1 to a 6. How did I change the 1 to the 6? I times it by 6. But what I do at the bottom, very important, people, there, you have to do on top. So if I times by 6 at the bottom, I have to times by 6 at the top as well. So x times 6 is 6x. Minus, how did I change that 2 into a 6? I times it by 3. But very important, what I do at the bottom, I have to do on top. So 5 times 3 is 15, is equal to x over 1. How did I get that 1 to a 6? I times it by 6. What I do at the bottom, I have to do on top. And x times 6 is 6x. Minus 2 over 1. How did I get from that 1 to a 6? I times it by 6. What I do at the bottom, I have to do on top. Okay, so now you can see that 6x over 6 is basically x. Can you see that? We just changed the format so that we all have now the same denominators. And that x is the same as 6x over 6. And have a look here, the 2 is, what is 12 divided by 6? It is 2. Okay, so please don't change the denominator and not the numerators. Lots of you, that's the problem that we get with these type of sums. Okay, then once you've got a common denominator with all of them, you drop it like it's hot. And then what is left? Only the numerators. Only the x plus 6x. Sorry, I'll show you. X plus 6x minus 15 is equal to 6x minus 12. And then from there, we've done these types of sums. So please remember here, first simplify each side, like I explained last week. First do that x plus 6x is 7x. And once you can't simplify anymore, then you start throwing your terms over. You do the inverse operation and you find x is 3. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And your homework now to go and do is, I'll write it over here, is exercise 9.6 on page 137. And you only need to do number 1. Number 2, we're going to do tomorrow. So only number 1, A to J. Okay. Thanks, grade 9s. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.